True, just sit up straight. There. Okay. No. Oh.
No, we're not done it.
Game shows, gotta love them. Or maybe not. I don't know, people are goddamn weird. I've already talked about what I consider one of the best game shows out there, Trapped. But it got me thinking, there really hasn't been a great game show that has been made here, where I live. That place being around there. Yeah, that one. You see, Ireland has a crippling illness, and that crippling illness is called "No game shows please" syndrome. And so for many years, a law was placed on the production of game shows on the Emerald Isle. But then, one fateful day, around 2006, a woman by the name of Lisa McGrath waltzed on over to RTE and said, "Okay, hear me out. But you know how the UK has all these cool game shows?"
"Yes, Miss McGrath, that's right. The UK has many game shows."
So I was thinking, yeah, what if we made a game show for your channel?
"But what about the law that states we cannot make game shows here?"
Well, I was thinking we should propose a show to the government and see if we can get them to revoke it. And soon they headed over and they found unexpected success.
"My God, Mrs. McGrath, this is simply the greatest thing I have ever heard of. In fact, I am the biggest Raven fan out there, and I've had to have agents sneak in episodes into the country. Yes, I will immediately overturn this archaic, oppressive, and silly rule now."
Well, that was a fun little side quest, wasn't it?
"It sure was. Why don't we celebrate with a round of drinks?"
Please? Absolutely not. So with all this in mind, what show did they end up creating? Well, in 2006, Ireland was introduced to the immortal words.
You've entered the Quizone. The game played on many levels, but there can only be one winning team.
Quizone is an Irish game show that was produced by Vision Independent Productions and aired on RTE's former children's timetable called The Den, which, for those who don't know, was essentially a channel that aired all the old cartoons and live action shows they could acquire from abroad, usually Nicktoons, some Cartoon Network stuff, and even anime dubbed by 4Kids. Basically, when you were a kid growing up in Ireland back in the day, it was the go-to channel for just about most shows and the billionth rerun of Sabrina the Teenage Witch. Why did they show this constantly? I have no idea.
Sabrina, you want some breakfast?
No thanks, I'll be out rollerblading.
Much like Trapped, Quizone was a show that I used to watch on TV whenever it would air, usually around the holiday breaks growing up. However, I did not actually watch it to the same extent as Trapped, since reruns never really happened for the show, unless I'm totally wrong on that. But I discovered recently they have been uploading some old episodes of the show online, and having rewatched the show, I can safely say not only is the show still really good, but I think it's better than when I got to watch it back then. In other words, Quizone is an excellent game show. Anyways, what are these quiz zones? Well, it is a show that tested the physical, mental, and teamwork skills of its competitors as they would work together in teams and try and search for the correct answer before anyone else. The team with the highest score at the end would win and go home with their own MP3 players, but the best of the whole series would also win their own laptop. Probably one of those average jack-of-all-sats system, but hey, when you're a kid, you probably don't process that and... Wait, were they being operated by Vista?
We're going to die!
Now then, each episode there would be not one, not two, not five, but 3 teams, competing against each other. A red team, a yellow team, and a blue team. A clever nod to Yu-Gi-Oh! GX, which was airing on the Den around the time of Quizone's lifespan. Coincidentally, there is a GX episode about a one-shot opponent who the heroes have to fight who uses a game show themed deck, and all the while he is simping over a girl who has zero interest in him. just like life.
Is he lame or what?
Keeping an eye on everything happening during the show is the game's referee, Jamie Darling, who is not only responsible for reading out the questions, but is also responsible for ensuring the contestants follow the laws of the zone. Each team is composed of 5 members, and so each round, one member of the team is nominated to race through what is known as the zone. They are what is known as the runner. No, not an edge runner. A runner is the person assigned not only to go through the zone, but to also be able to give the answer to the question and net their team some spicy points. Once contact is made, it's game on. Damn, the GX comparisons are getting too easy, I swear. Each round, Jamie would stand by with a question in hand, ready to ask the teams. And then, 10 seconds after the question is revealed, the 3 runners have just 2.5 minutes, or 180 seconds, to race through the zone as fast as they can, gradually climbing their way up to the top of the structure and then heading down the slides, which leads directly back to the contact area where they started the race, effectively running a full lap around the zone. The faster they make it through the zone, the more points are on offer based on how much time was remaining. For example, if I had 69 seconds remaining by the time I got out of the zone, I would be able to maybe win 69 points, if my answer was correct.
What antibiotic drug did Sir Alexander Fleming discover?
Maybe might be cocaine.
However, the runners aren't the only ones who are going to be busy, as while they are running faster than an autistic kid at a Sonic the Hedgehog convention through the zone, their teammates, who are back in the search room, are actively working on the sidelines searching for the answer to the question before their teammate has arrived back by checking online using the mags and the Safe Search Quizone engine. Ooh, thank God for that. And the books behind them. Once everyone has made it out the zone, the round ends. However, the round also ends when the timer expires, and anyone left in the zone is forced to go back to the search room. Soon, it's questioning time, where they must give Jamie their answers. The first person to give the correct answer wins the round and earns the points on offer to them. Not only is getting through the zone as fast as you can important for the sake of higher points, but getting out before the others gives you the first shot at answering the question. If the runner answers the question correctly, they will win points equal to how much was at stake. Get it wrong, and it moves down until eventually one person gets it right, or everyone gets it wrong.
Oh Lord, that was dreadful.
This continues for 5 rounds, and then whoever has the highest score at the end is the overall winner. Now, I know what you're going to tell me. This show is very simple, right? True, but I think its simplicity is what makes it shine. Plus, there is a bit more to it than just that. First, let's talk about how the show works. The rules of the show are actually very straightforward, but they help make the game quite interesting. I remembered thinking as I was watching this show, there is no way it's going to keep me engaged at all for that long. This is too basic to be even sustainable. I'm probably blinded by nostalgia. I'm going to be sick of this soon. But in reality, that was not the case at all. And I'm thrilled the fact it's just so unhinged and unashamed of what it is that it makes the show thoroughly entertaining for me. I am not lying when I mentioned that on a couple of occasions I really did just say, "Oh no!" because one of the team either does a big mistake or is suddenly lost. Quizone absolutely succeeds at getting you to really feel invested in its competitors and the competition, and part of that comes from the voiceovers and the use of music. The guy who does the voiceover is perfect. He is without flaw, like my legs. He sounds intense and serious in the big moments and distraught at the twists and turns. He quite literally is the biggest Quizone fan. What a hero.
A tough question to start the game. Blues have taken the lead. Yellow's just behind and up the ramp to level 3. Blues are down the slide. Does he have the bonus ball? He does! In the tunnel already. Red looks lost. Left. Where's Yellow? Disaster. Owen had an answer. Instead of leaving the zone, he's gone all the way around it again.
The music in the show also matches the narrator's tone, from the army march theme for when teams are being asked their questions, to the hard techno beats between rounds. And the main Quizone theme itself is fantastic. starting rapid with soft techno beats to added percussion as the race continues until it eventually climaxes into an intense action melody. Criminally, there does not exist a clean OST for Quizone, so it's hard to do it justice without watching an episode. But I pray one day it's uploaded because the music is fantastic. Needless to say, once one episode wrapped up, I was hooked and ready for the next one, and the next one.
I guess you could say things are getting pretty serious.
Now for the zone itself. At first glance, it doesn't look all that cool. I mean, seriously, they're running around what is basically that weird playground Arnie runs through in Jingle All the Way. In fact, that is exactly what it is, since Quizone was filmed in a real indoor soft play area called Play Barn, which is still in operation as of today. You see, the zone itself has various routes that all eventually lead up to the top of the structure, but only one runner can choose each route, as that selected route can be blocked off by the runner. Blocks seal off an area to the runner and therefore cannot be accessed. Additionally, not all the routes are equal in length, and in fact there is an advantage to going for certain routes since it gets you through the zone faster and therefore will guarantee you a good score if things go to plan. However, going the fastest route may not always be the best plan of action. You see, in each round there is a bonus ball hidden in one of the many pouches of the zone. The pouches are always near optional or dead ends of the zone, or even along the less optimal paths. For example, there is a branch in the tunnel before the slides which leads directly to a pouch where a bonus ball might be hidden. This is a really good mechanic, especially since the bonus ball actually escalates in value as the rounds go by, starting at a not that nifty 50 points to a game warping high 200, and encourages the team to be strategic, go for the slower routes, risking a lower time but maybe coming out with the bonus ball, or racing through like a madman and getting scoring priority, but maybe not as high a score as you could. In fact, the zone itself seems pretty difficult to navigate. Not only is it somewhat shrouded in darkness like an edgelord fun factory, but as I mentioned, there are different paths and there aren't too many distinguishing features to take note of to help you out. It's not uncommon for a runner to start getting lost during the race, wasting time, and in some cases, not having enough time to escape the zone. I have a horrible sense of direction and would have definitely gotten lost if I was on the show. On a side note, according to Playbarn's official website, Playbarn has the biggest indoor play structure in Leinster. I understand. Which means, if this is true, they are racing through possibly the biggest in the whole country. Interestingly, when I first watched this show, I actually thought the play structure was built on a set. Hell, you would think that. There are 3 teams in Quizone, 3 different ways to reach level 2 of the zone, and there is a 3-way racer slide to the contact station. It's almost like the developers behind Playbarn foresaw Quizone and planned out their business accordingly. Either way, that is pretty rad, and actually surprised me when I learned different. But the others back in the search room have just as big a role as the runner each round. How, you may ask? Well, obviously they got to find the answer, doi, but they need to be just as fast, if not arguably even faster than the runners. Since even if the runner is the first back to the contact station, they often have to check with their team to ensure they, well, have any answer to give, even if the answer to the capital of France is F. Sure, if the runner is brainy enough to know the answer, it's not the end of the world, but my god, if you are as clueless as the team, yeah, it's basically an auto loss. You're never getting out of that zone.
Come on, please. I'll try to get the ball. Oh, I'm last. Come on.
And Neve's out with 64 seconds left.
What is it? I'm running out of time. Please, come on. Yeah, I'm last. Come on. We're gone. We can't find. Just get the book, lads. It's not here. It's on this way. Come on, 7. I'm gonna guess.
And fuck you, and I'll see you tomorrow. Fucking idiot.
This is where I have since coined my own scientific principle I like to call the law of the zone. The runner of the zone is fast, but the team needs to be faster. Or, in simpler terms, the runner is only as fast as their team. JB may come up to your house and say JB may come up to your house and say he greenlit the idea, but he is wrong. Probably one of the few cases I have seen where cooperation really is necessary to win cause otherwise you're just left screaming at each other on Skype and getting nowhere. As the rounds go on, though, more elements start to come into play. Blocks start appearing in different parts of the zone, and shut down paths that would usually be convenient or obvious ways to manage your way through. Meaning every runner is going to have to start getting creative, or find an alternative way to beat the others out of the zone. Or perhaps encourage runners to go for the bonus balls, since, like I mentioned, it gains value over the course of the war in this soft play area. Not to mention you want to either overtake or perhaps build further daylight between you and your opponents. Then there is Jamie Bonus Ball Darling, our game's referee. He is the law of the zone, so to speak, and what he says goes. Do not oppose this man's word, or he will annihilate you with the strength of the whole population of New Zealand. What is most fascinating about Jamie is that he is devoid of any silliness, no humour, no real emotion. He kind of just says it as it is.
Would you both turn around?
Notice the lack of frustration or even disappointment in his voice. These two there were being very silly, but Jamie just carries on with his job. He knows the zone off the back of his head, and if you break his rules, he won't show you mercy.
Sophie, you actually went through a block, so you're disqualified from this round. Please return to your search room.
Yeah, get lost, Sophie, you filthy cheater. Some would say JB might even be the biggest shareholder of Playbarn, but he has refused to comment. About halfway through the game, we get interviews with the three teams, courtesy of Mr. Darren Kennedy, with the exception of one episode where Lisa McGrath did it instead, to hear their current thoughts on the game and what they plan to do to work better together, etc, etc. I love these, since we get to learn more about the teams and how they both see themselves as a collective, but also their opponents, as they usually never interact with them, obviously. Some of these interviews are so simple, but end up being so quotable too.
So, and what do you think of the blue team or the red team?
They're not that great. No.
They're not?
We can hammer them, we could hammer them. If he just gave dry answers, and if he just kept his mouth shut.
Is it harder to race against boys or girls?
Yes.
Why is that?
They're better.
Yeah, girls are much better. Okay.
It's not that they're better, it's just that they're taller.
So remember how I said there was a laptop for the team who performed the best across the whole series? Well, at the end of each episode, the winning team, or teams in the event of a tie, are placed on the series leaderboard and ranked by their final winning scores across 15 episodes. Whichever team has the highest score by the end of the series will each have won their own laptops. Cool idea, and gives the show a more definitive winner with each series. Almost like an objective way to reward the best team throughout the series instead of just winning the MP3 player each episode. As I mentioned, Quizone was a simple show, but it was also very willing to experiment with new ideas to keep the game fresh as the show went on. Hell, the show even lasted longer than Trapped did, but if you watched my video, you would know why. You can go watch it for more context. Some rounds added additional optional blocks in the zone that the runner could use to just give them a good route. In some rounds, the team had no access to the internet at all and needed to rely on just the books for the answer.
I look at it, I read the words, or think I do, but then I get distracted, or I don't quite take it in, and I have to go back.
Hell, they even changed the rules up outright for the final two series of Quizone. Instead, they have to unlock their route by finding a glowing ball in the ball pit. Only thing is, it's pitch black in there. Can I just say this though? Am I the only one who finds the ball pit freaking creepy? I'm pretty sure it was just built for the show, since I would imagine it's otherwise a health and safety nightmare, but who knows, maybe it's a bonus feature in Playbarn. And then the routes are also worth different points, therefore eliminating the bonus ball mechanic, and instead rewarding those who are quickest in the ball pit, as they can, of course, choose the best route of the three, as the correct answer would add their route score onto the points they would be earning. The routes don't go up like the balls did with each round and are instead static. I'm not too sure on this change, as it does remove a lot of the strategy behind the bonus ball and possibly makes the zone a bit more linear, but since it would otherwise be overkill, I get why they changed it. Hell, at least they did something different, right? Oh, and did I mention they added extra challenges in the zone just to make the races even harder? Like moving giant blueberries around? Like, damn, these guys really needed to work their socks off, and sometimes in the end, it just wasn't even worth it.
Should have been quicker.
Later, the ball pit became optional. Instead, you would use it to find balls to activate your team's internet. And in later rounds, there was a deactivation disc that could switch off your opponent's connection to the internet. Wow, that's a surprising amount of mileage for a show with a very simple premise, and it's even more impressive when you factor in they had to presumably adhere to the limitations of what they were allowed to do at Playbarn. Now you might be thinking, damn, I kinda wanna watch this awesome show. Where can I watch episodes? Yeah, about that. Quizone, despite being very popular in its home country, actually doesn't have many of its episodes available online. Sure, most of Series 2 is available to watch online, but trying to find even footage, let alone a measly episode, is the equivalent of trying to lick your own elbow. That being said, there clearly exists raw footage of the show online, and that Vision Independent likely have master copies of every episode somewhere, since they officially uploaded Series 2. Maybe one day we'll see a release of every episode. As cool as it would be to see a reboot of the show, I don't think the show would work as well nowadays. Kids are more tech savvy, and back then, kids really didn't know how to operate a computer or the internet very well, hence why they had been botching many of the questions. Hell, the fact you want an MP3 player, when nowadays most devices can do that and more, should clue you in on the time frame of the show's run. I think you could actually accomplish this by just ditch the internet altogether, and just give the teams the books. It would still provide a challenge and would perhaps encourage kids to not be so reliant on technology to win out in the end. Or maybe there could be another way to do it. I don't know, I'd be curious to see what other people have to say in the comments. What do you think? Overall, Quizone is an underrated gem of television, and despite being stuck with what it had, made the most of it to provide a simplistic yet engaging and entertaining series that tested various virtues of its competitors. Not to mention its willingness to adapt and change makes it a very ambitious and creative project. If you have never seen the show before, I highly recommend seeking out and viewing any episodes you do find. I promise you, the show is pure entertainment from start to finish and it never runs out of steam. I'm not sure what else to say except just pray and hope that hopefully one day we will be blessed by your full release of the show online for our viewing pleasure.
This series of Quizone, we hope you've enjoyed watching.